No, let me get my bearings. This happened on a Saturday, and Mrs. Hebert, I, I didn't know where to go because the house was full of people, and then Mrs. Hebert, our friend, she moved with us from Minnesota, and she was a very close friend with my mother, and she put her arms around me and she told me what happened, and of course I was crying, and I didn't know what else to do. And in those days when somebody died, they turned the mirrors against the walls, and I can't remember what else they used to do, but anyway, things were kind of quiet for a few days. And when my dad's body was brought home, it was a Sunday, and they had the casket, brought the casket into the house, and then there were men that had to that stayed up all night with the body, and the rest of the family would go to bed, and then the men would stay there. They play cards and stuff to keep themselves awake. So at that time, my dad was kept in the house for 2 days, and they would put a big bow on the door, a big gray bow to signify that there was a dead person, and there were people would be confused. They didn't know where to go. So they would see that big gray ribbon, and they would come and pay their respects. And well, he was buried, and things kind of changed a little bit. My mother was, well, you know how it is when somebody dies. If she felt bad, but then she had her work and her stuff cut out for her, and had to take care of her kids. I was 9 years old at the time. My sister next to me was 11, and my sister Mary was 13. So we were, pretty young, and she had us to worry about. But then she still had to work like a little horse. She had ties that they used to bring uh, from the railroad track when the railroad ties had to be replaced. The section boss always thought of her, and he had them dump the big ties off at our house. My brothers had to saw those up, and then they would chop a pile of wood for her. And one day she ran out of wood because we had to burn wood. We didn't have money for coal or anything. And then she went to chop wood, and she dropped a big chunk of the tie on her toe, and her toe got infected, and she never that infection never went away, and they had to take her to the hospital, and they couldn't do anything with her foot. They had to cut it off. They cut it off almost to the knee, and she was she was very good about it. She never complained about it or anything. But when she was in the hospital, she said she was sitting up in bed, and there was a mirror at the foot of her bed, a big mirror. She could see herself. And then she says she saw herself in the mirror, and her hair was all combed back. And she thought that there was a man looking at her in the mirror, and that was her own image. And when we came to the hospital to see her, she said, "Oh, there was a man in my room, and he was looking at me, and he smiled at me, and I smiled back at him." And she didn't know that she was talking about her own image, and we got a big kick out of that one, because she used to wear her hair pulled back real straight in a bun, and she thought she was a man, and this man was looking at her.